Mac Attack, were you surprised? Did you think Pete DeBoer was getting fired?
No, but it's the surprise that isn't a shock because I think anymore these days, these guys are diapers. And it's too bad, but no league treats their head coach worse than the NHL. None. Baseball, football, basketball. Tom Thibodeau got 5 years in New York, got him to the East Finals. That great job, you're fired. DeBoer, I mean, this is crazy, right? It should be crazy, but only in the NHL, Sean, where you'd say, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, he got fired. 3 years, 3 years, three Western Conference Finals trips, you're fired. That's insane. So it's crazy, but in the National Hockey League, it fits.
Why do you think they did it?
Players quit on him. I had a player, I was writing about it when they did it. You know, they did the Friday morning news dump as opposed to Friday afternoon when they announced it. And I texted a couple guys who work in the organization. I said, what happened? And both of them said players. Players. One said players rule. The other guy said players all the way. So during the exit interviews, which is common, every team does that, general manager Jim Nill just got the sense they were sick of him. And the signs were beginning to show on this relationship strain back in February. You could kind of hear it. And at some point, they're like, yeah, we're done with this guy. And you have to do it. You don't have any choice. It's 25 guys. It's really more like 8 or 10 in this case that have power and leverage, where the general manager has to go to the owner and say, look, this is what we got to do. And it's hard for the owner because he's got to eat the rest of that contract if DeBoer doesn't get another job. And I would imagine he will, maybe not right away, but that's what this was. This was a player-led decision all the way because there's no way Jim Nill wanted to do this.
So do you think if the Ottinger thing doesn't happen, he still loses his job?
Yeah, I do. It's weird. I don't know y'all's reaction the next day. I was there when he said it, and when I heard it in real time, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. And then afterwards, I could hear members of the Canadian press were like, oh my God, I cannot believe he just said that about Jake Ottinger.
Yeah.
And it really didn't faze me that much. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's right. I mean, and you don't have any other button to push in that case. You're down. First of all, you've had your butt handed to you in games 2, 3, 4, 5, and now, early in game 5. You've changed lineups, you've changed pairs, you've done everything you can but do this. You're down 2-0, 30 seconds into the game, practically. Like, okay, let's go. I gotta use the timeout. I gotta do something to wake these guys up. What is that? Well, I'll pull my all-star goalie. The thing to me that was the biggest red flag, Sean, was 2 days later when they're meeting with the media and both of them say, yeah, we haven't talked to each other yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not good. And that was the first sign to me, this could go with one of these guys leaving, and it's not going to be the goalie.
Mac Engel, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, joins us here 105 through the Fan. This is Nils' 6th firing in a dozen years. Like, obviously, I think that's one every 2 years for you math whizzes out there.
Yeah. When we do the math,
Is
run
that
that through an app.
Yeah, look, is that the norm around the sport? I know you said they're like diaper. That seems excessive.
It's crazy. And I remember when they fired Jim Montgomery, and the one they really went out on a limb on was to hire Jim Montgomery because Jim was from college. He was a very successful coach at Denver University, and they went to college to hire a guy. And if you remember, RJ, it was working. A season and a half with Jim, it was working. And then they had to fire him because of unprofessional behavior off the ice that they had warned him about repeatedly. And then they put in Rick Bowness, an older guy, as an interim, and he takes them all the way to the Cup Finals in the bubble in Edmonton. And they're like, okay, well, now we got to name this guy the head coach. So you had extenuating circumstances involved there. So Bowness retires. That had run its course. He retires. And then I asked Jim Nill, did you guys deliberate over hiring Pete DeBoer a little bit longer because you wanted to make sure that you weren't here again in 3 years? And he said, yes. And they had sat there and they had made sure that this one they were going to get it right. Well, he lasted 3 years and he got to the West Finals 3 straight years. RJ, do you really think they got it wrong?
No,
not at all.
Neither do I. And the problem, and you nailed it on the walk up before you had me on, which was this game of the NHL Finals right now. Dallas isn't better. They're just not. I mean, Edmonton handed it to them. That wasn't a series. They kicked their ass. Florida right now, there's just a gap. And I was sure, I was just sure, well, certainly this time they're going to get through. But I mean, look at the lineup. They got Ratman and they got this goalie and then they got Miro Heiskanen back. I'm like, this is going to be it. They weren't even close. And as close as they are to get to the West Finals 3 straight years, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. And now you're looking at the best teams, you're like, we're not even that close. So that's the most discouraging aspect to this to me.
Mac Engel from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram joining us here on 105 through the Fan. Mac, you mentioned basically this is a players firing, in your opinion, that the players were driving this. There are different instances of that. So if we look at other sports, Josh McDaniels getting fired essentially by players with the Raiders. Everybody agreed that's warranted. The players were right. There was a certain culture that was being set. Then you look at other examples like maybe Adrian Griffin in the NBA, where it's like you made a push you shouldn't have. That was players ultimately whining a little bit. Which of these feels more accurate to you with the Stars? That this is the players correctly addressing there's a tone problem here, or if they're being a little whiny, I guess, for lack of a better term?
I think they're whining. That's a really good question because you see different examples of this. And locally, the one that I can think of, RJ, you can help me out on this. The Cowboys players quit on Wade Phillips. Those are whining. They just quit on him. And to go way, way back, the Dallas Stars players quit on Ken Hitchcock in 2002-1. I can't remember the year. They quit on him. They definitely quit on him to get him fired. I remember I had a player telling me that we got Hitch fired. Okay. So in those other cases where you could say, what is this, a culture problem? Is this this? With Wade, it was a culture problem. He just didn't have it in him to be on top of his team. He was too nice of a man. This, to me, Bobby, I've been around a lot of hockey coaches. Pete's a very good one. I don't think you could look at his record and say, well, this guy stinks. They're hockey coaches, and they are on these guys all the time. The good ones are. If you look at the good ones in this, Scotty Bowman, I would say John Tortorella has been pretty good. They've got a quick fuse, and they are on these guys like that. And you get tired of them. So you're going to find somebody else. And I'm looking at this list of potential candidates. I don't know who the answer is. I don't know. RJ, do you think really any answer exists out there that's going to make this team better or on the same level as where Florida is today or the Oilers?
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, whoever they get, they're not getting a better coach than Pete. Like, Laviolette and Torts, they have better resumes because they got a cup, but I don't know that they're a better coach. And short of finding a way to get Sam Bennett and trading for Brady Tkachuk, I don't know that this team is going to be on the same level as Florida or Edmonton next year.
No, I don't think they are. And here's the thing that really bums me out as a Stars fan, follower, or whatever. They went to the West Finals 3 straight years. Do you know what the odds are of them reaching the West Finals next year? I mean, that's incredible that they went to the West Finals 3 straight years. Now you're asking them, so you're like, okay, we're not getting that far again. Not because they're not good, just because the odds of getting through. Yeah, they're terrible. Now, maybe they do, and Pete mentioned this a couple of days ago before he was fired. And Shan, you grew up there. The Washington Capitals knocked on that door for a long time with Ovechkin, and then they finally got through. And maybe Dallas is in that window where they're going to be really good, and they're going to knock on that window, and there's going to be some years they get closer than others, and then maybe they finally get through. I think they're going to get there eventually, but there's no way it's going to be next season. I don't care who the coach is.
Is there a name jumping out to you?
I wrote down some names. I think the one that I keep hearing is Neil Graham. He is the Texas Stars head coach. That's their top affiliated team down in Austin. And that's somebody that they would know well. He would be familiar with a lot of the players. There's some other ones too. There's one that jumped off the page at me that I've read some lists. Steve Ott. He's a Blues assistant coach. He was a player here for a long time, a former first-round pick. I knew him was he's a good guy. That maybe Mitch Love is a assistant with the Washington Capitals, and then RJ mentioned it. John Tortorella. There's Derek Lalonde, who was with the Red Wings. Jay Woodcroft, who was with the Oilers. Another one that came off, I was surprised, was Yuri Lettinen. Yuri was a great player here. I mean, just a phenomenal player here, and he's had some success in being a general manager with the team, the Finnish national team, and he's done some scouting. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I think it comes back down to, like, what are your expectations? And if your expectations are we're going to be good, we're going to be competitive, then one of these guys I'm sure will be fine. The other one that really interested me is a guy named Rickard Gronberg, and he's had a lot of success in Finland and in Sweden, and maybe Jim Nill decides to go off the map a little bit like he did with Jim Montgomery and do something a little bit different. But I got to be honest, I think whomever they get, your hope is that they were as good as Pete DeBoer, because I doubt he's going to be better.